Hello and welcome, I am Pranay Upadhyay and you're watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in South Asia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to Malaysia on February 7th as India deepens Southeast Asia ties amid rising global power competition. Sexist remarks by Jamaat leaders have reignited debate over patriarchy, power and women's exclusion in Bangladesh's fragile democracy. Back in America, NASA has delayed the Artemis II mission after detecting a hydrogen leak, highlighting the challenges of returning humans to deep space. And the biggest news of the day, India and the Gulf bloc have restarted free trade negotiations and talks, reviving a long-stalled push to deepen economic ties. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays and the stories that matter, coming up in this edition of Namaste World. India and the Gulf Cooperation Council has agreed to restart negotiations on a long-pending free trade agreement, marking a major step towards deeper economic cooperation between the two sides. The move formally revives the talks that began more than 2 decades ago. India and the six-nation Gulf bloc first signed a framework agreement in 2004, followed by negotiation rounds in 2006 and 2008. However, progress got stalled in 2011 when the GCC paused its global trade discussions. Momentum returned in recent years. The process was revived after the GCC Secretary General's visit to India in November 2022. By October 2023, the revised draft was shared, leading to formal discussions to restart negotiations. The GCC includes Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain. The proposed trade pact is expected to boost trade, investment, and energy cooperation. Indian officials say it could help create jobs, strengthen food and energy security, and deepen long-standing geopolitical ties. Trade between India and the GCC is already robust. In the last financial year, the bilateral trade touched around $179 billion, accounting for over 15% of India's global trade. With negotiations back on track, both sides are now aiming to unblock greater economic potential. Let's hear into Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, on the same subject.
Truly a momentous day when we are signing the terms of reference of yet another free trade agreement, this time with our friends from the 6 nations which comprise the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC. Many of us are aware that discussions have been going on for nearly 2 decades, that 2 trading partners, as His Excellency Dr. Raja Marzoki just mentioned, 2 trading partners who have been trading amongst each other for over 5,000 years. It is most appropriate that we now enter into a much stronger and robust trading arrangement which will enable greater free flow of goods, services, bring predictability and stability to policy, help encourage greater degree of investments, and take our bilateral relations between the 6-nation GCC group and India to greater heights.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Malaysia on February 7th, signaling India's growing push into Southeast Asia. With geopolitics, culture and commerce converging in Kuala Lumpur, what does this visit reveals about India's long-term Indo-Pacific ambitions? Here's a report by Farhan Khan.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Malaysia on February 7th. This marks a significant moment in India's expanding engagement with Southeast Asia. Modi will be received personally at the airport by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, underlining the political weight Kuala Lumpur is attaching to the visit. Though brief, the trip comes at a time when India and Malaysia are seeking to convert warming relations into a deeper strategic partnership. The momentum was set in August 2024 when Anwar Ibrahim visited India and both sides formally upgraded ties to an enhanced strategic partnership. Since then, cooperation has broadened across trade, defense, technology and regional diplomacy.
Perdana Menteri Narendra Modi ji is mere dosti. Not only is Prime Minister, but is my brother. And as I've said to him personally and to the colleagues, his friendship is sincere, not only when I'm Prime Minister, but when I was just nobody, he was very kind as a true friend. And that, of course, is most meaningful to me and my delegation and to the country. And that makes all our deliberations and discussions rather easy. We have agreed to enhance further and make it a comprehensive strategic partnership. Yes, Malaysia and India, from the days of Jawaharlal Nehru and Tunku Abdul Rahman, has established good relations. But we realize under our generation that this must be further strengthened in a multitude of areas, which covers, as the Prime Minister has rightly put, digital and investments and trade, in construction and modern agriculture, education, research, all fields, including military collaboration in terms of joint operations to safeguard our borders, and we look forward to that further enhanced relations.
Malaysia holds special importance for New Delhi. At 2.75 million, Malaysia hosts the second largest Indian origin community in the world after the United States. In a move seen as reinforcing people-to-people ties, India has recently extended Overseas Citizen of India registration rights to the sixth generation of Indian origin families abroad, a decision welcomed by the Malaysian diaspora. At the heart of Modi's visit will be a massive community event in Kuala Lumpur, where nearly 15,000 members of the Indian diaspora are expected to gather. Cultural groups and NGOs across Malaysia have come together to organize the program aimed at showcasing shared heritage and unity between Indians and Malaysians. The timing is politically significant. The celebrations will overlap with the Thaipusam festival, a major Hindu religious occasion, as well as Chinese New Year festivities. For Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, joining Modi at a diaspora event allows him to engage key minority communities. Beyond symbolism, analysts see the visit as part of India's broader effort to expand its strategic footprint in Southeast Asia. New Delhi increasingly views Malaysia not just as a bilateral partner, but as a gateway into the wider ASEAN region. Southeast Asia has become a focal point of global power competition, with China and the United States intensifying their presence across trade routes, military cooperation, and infrastructure investment. In this context, India is positioning itself as an additional balancing force. ASEAN countries broadly welcome India's growing role, not as a replacement for existing powers, but as a counterweight that prevents the region from becoming dominated by any single bloc. Malaysia's strategic value is amplified by geography. Sitting along the Straits of Malacca, one of the world's most critical maritime choke points, the country plays a key role in global trade flows. Control of these waters is shared primarily by Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore, making Kuala Lumpur a natural focus of attention for major powers. While Modi's visit highlights strengthening cooperation, it also comes with unresolved sensitivities. One of the long-standing flashpoints in India-Malaysia relations remains the case of controversial Islamic preacher Zakir Naik, who has lived in Malaysia since fleeing India in 2016. Indian authorities have accused Naik of money laundering, hate speech, and inciting extremism, and have repeatedly sought his extradition. His organization was banned in India, and investigators have linked millions of dollars in assets to alleged illegal activities. Malaysia's previous governments granted Naik permanent residency and were reluctant to deport him, citing concerns about his safety and the fairness of legal proceedings in India. Interpol also declined India's request for a red corner notice, stating that evidence thresholds had not been met. However, as of 2024 and into 2025, Malaysian officials have signaled greater openness to cooperation, provided New Delhi presents concrete evidence and follows proper judicial procedures. The issue remains delicate, balancing legal processes with the broader diplomatic relationship.
What are Malaysia's assurances when it comes to one very concerning area for India, which is Zakir Naik? I know you've made your own statements there, but is there anything that India has provided which is good enough for an extradition of Zakir Naik to India?
Well, there has been issues raised, although not this time, but then, of course, politely, the External Affairs Minister did make a reference to that. And I've said, look, we have to respect the due process. He's not been active in Malaysia. He travels outside, but he comes back to Malaysia from time to time. He has not issued any statement or any political statement that's, against India or against Malaysia. So I think a number of reasons let the matter rest for a while.
He did make statements, but you were not in power then. It was Mr. Mohammed. So just saying that, is Zakir Naik an issue that impacts bilateral ties?
No, we do appreciate the concern expressed by some quarters here, but I think as long as he does not create issues between our countries and the security of a nation, I think we let the matter rest.
Okay. And should there be more evidence that India provides?
Yeah, of course, we are a country, we must respect the rule of law and we will not condone any sort of transgression.
Modi's Malaysia visit reflects India's evolving foreign policy, one that combines diaspora diplomacy, economic engagement, and strategic positioning in an increasingly contested Indo-Pacific. As global rivalries sharpen, New Delhi is making clear that Southeast Asia and Malaysia in particular sits firmly within India's long-term geopolitical vision. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Working women likened to prostitutes. Leadership declared off-limit for women, and denial following outrage has ignited a political storm in Bangladesh, as Jamaat-e-Islami remark exposes deep-rooted patriarchy ahead of crucial Bangladesh elections. Can a democratic party or can a democracy survive when half of its population is systematically shut out of power? Here's a report by Sharik Saha.
আমি সাফ সারা বাংলাদেশের শান্তিকামী মুক্তি পাগল মানুষকে বলে দিতে চাই, বিশেষ করে যুবকদেরকে বলে দিতে চাই।
Working women compared to prostitutes. Leadership declared off limits to half the population. And when the outrage came, denial followed. This isn't a slip-up. This is Bangladesh's patriarchy unfiltered. The storm erupted after Shafiqur Rahman, chief of Jamaat-e-Islami, claimed that women cannot lead this party, and went even further, comparing working women to prostitutes. The remarks, posted on X and later deleted, triggered outrage across Bangladesh. Screenshots spread fast. The damage was already done. Facing backlash, Jamaat cried hack. Rahman insisted the post was fake, misleading, and not reflective of the party's views, even as his past interviews told a very different story. Just days earlier, Rahman openly argued that women are biologically unfit for leadership, citing childbirth and breastfeeding as reasons. Jamaat, he admitted, has never fielded a single woman candidate for parliament. Let that sink in. In a country where women have ruled for over 3 decades, Jamaat's vision looks less like faith and more like a throwback to the Taliban playbook. Critics warn this isn't just misogyny, it's ideology. An ideology that seeks to push Bangladesh backwards socially, politically, and morally. The controversy comes at a crucial moment. Bangladesh is heading into its first election since the fall of Sheikh Hasina, and the numbers are damning. Out of nearly 2,000 candidates, only 4% are women. Jamaat, 0. Experts say this exposes the real problem, a deeply patriarchal political system where power is guarded by money, muscle, and male networks, not merit. Women appear in rallies, women lead protests, but when it comes to tickets, money and power, they are pushed aside. Democracy, after all, is not just about voting. It's about who gets to contest. And when half the population is locked out, democracy becomes hollow. Bangladesh doesn't have a women problem. It has a power problem. And until politics stops treating women as symbols instead of contenders, democracy here will remain loud in slogans and hollow in reality. Because a democracy that sidelines half its population is not moving forward, it's moving backwards. With Shaurik Shah, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Just days before launch, NASA delayed the Artemis II mission after engineers detected a hydrogen leak during a critical test, pushing the historic flight to March. Set to carry astronauts around the moon for the first time since 1972, Artemis II is key to future lunar landings and Mars ambitions. So why does this mission matter so much? Here's a report.
Just days before the planned launch, NASA delayed its Artemis II mission to March due to technical problems in a critical wet dress rehearsal. Engineers detected hydrogen leakage at the tail end of the Next Generation Space Launch System rocket. But what is Artemis II mission and why is it the most awaited? Artemis II is a historic mission that will send 4 astronauts around the moon and back in a roughly 10-day span aboard NASA's Orion spacecraft. It is both the first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit and the first crewed mission around the moon since Apollo 17 in 1972. The mission does not include a lunar landing but is a vital step towards future moon landings and NASA's long-term goal to send humans to Mars. The crew represents milestones in NASA's history, with pilot Victor Glover, the first black astronaut, mission specialist Christina Koch, the first woman to travel beyond low Earth orbit, Jeremy Hansen, the first non-American to fly to the lunar vicinity, and Commander Reed Wiseman, an American astronaut and naval aviator, showcasing international collaboration in deep space missions. The mission will test life support systems, navigation, communications, radiation protection, and emergency procedures under real deep space conditions. This data will help engineers optimize spacecraft performance and crew protocols for Artemis III and beyond. Artemis III will be the first crewed mission to land on the lunar South Pole after over 50 years. The last time astronauts landed on the moon was in December 1972, when Eugene Cernan and Harrison Smith spent 3 days on the lunar surface. After years of preparation, NASA targeted February 8th for launching the Artemis II, but safety concerns following the hydrogen leak prompted engineers to halt the countdown and reassess the system. The delay underscores the complexity of deep space missions and NASA's cautious approach to crew safety as it prepares to return humans to the moon for the first time in over half a century. Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Bangladesh heads into tense elections, shadowed by violence, minority persecution, and shifting global alignment after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. As the Awami League stands ban and Jamaat-e-Islami re-emerged, reports of quiet US engagement have triggered regional alarm. Is Washington risking another Islamist gamble in South Asia as Bangladesh votes under fear? Here's a report by Rudrashish Kanjilal.
Bangladesh is heading into elections under a cloud of fear, violence, and quiet geopolitical deals. On February 12th, Bangladesh votes for a new parliament and a national referendum. But this is not a normal election. It is taking place after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, the banning of her Awami League party, and a surge in minority persecution that has alarmed the world. And now, a new revelation is sending shockwaves across South Asia. The United States is quietly warming up to Jamaat-e-Islami, the Islamist party once banned for its role in 1971 war crimes, a party linked to mass killings, rape, and collaboration with the Pakistani army during Bangladesh's liberation war. Since Hasina's removal in August 2024, anti-Hindu violence has exploded. Temples attacked, homes burned, voters intimidated. The numbers tell a brutal story. Hindus made up 22% of Bangladesh in 1971. Today, they are just 8%. In recent weeks, killings, Fake narratives and threats to polling access have intensified fears of engineered vote bank polarization. Even the US has urged its citizens to stay away from rallies, polling stations, and even religious sites. But behind closed doors, a very different conversation is taking place. According to multiple reports, US diplomats have dramatically expanded engagement with Jamaat-e-Islami since 2023. What began as minimal contact has turned into structured dialogue, especially after Hasina's ouster opened political space for Islamist resurgence. A leaked audio from a December 2025 meeting in Dhaka reveals just how far this has gone. In that conversation, a senior US official brushed aside concerns about Sharia law, describing Jamaat as pragmatic actors. At the same time, the official warned Jamaat leaders that Washington would not hesitate to use tariffs and sanctions if hardliners crossed red line, a familiar American strategy. Engage with Islamists, hedge your bets, hope for modernization. The Washington Post later confirmed these friendship overtures, citing the leaked audio. With the Awami League banned, a BNP Jamaat surge, and minorities under attack, the risk of a Sharia push is no longer theoretical. The developments are deeply unsettling for India, which has seen ties with Dhaka deteriorate since Hasina's fall. They also worry China, and that may explain Washington's urgency. Bangladesh sits at a strategic crossroads in the Indo-Pacific. Since 2014, Beijing has rapidly expanded its footprint, infrastructure deals, defense sales, including SY-400 missiles, and even direct outreach to Jamaat leaders, highlighted by a January 2026 meeting with China's ambassador. US friendship overtures to Jamaat appear aimed at blocking Beijing from locking in political influence after the polls. But there's a contradiction. In trying to counter China, Washington may be legitimizing Islamist forces. In stabilizing Bangladesh, it may be destabilizing its social fabric. And in securing leverage in the region, it risks alienating India, even as it claims to mend ties with New Delhi. As Bangladesh approaches election day, the question is no longer just who will win. The real question is this: is Washington sleepwalking into another Islamist gamble? Or is it deliberately rewriting the rules of engagement in South Asia? And once again, will minorities pay the price? With Rudishish Kanjilal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here's a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. Nigeria's president has deployed troops after suspected jihadists massacred 170 villages in Kwara, raising fears of extremist expansion into central Nigeria. The UN Human Rights Chief has appealed for emergency funding, warning deep donor cuts have pushed the global rights monitoring effort into survival mode. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthrough in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow, same time, right here on Namaste World.